fallout from a Russian mercenary group revolt, and the Coast Guard will investigate the loss of the Titan submersible. All that and more today, June 27th, 2023. Good morning, early birds. I'm Jonathan Lehrfeld, and this is the Early Bird Brief, produced by Defense News and Military Times. First up, it has been a busy past few days for Russia. The leader of the Wagner mercenary group defended his hours-long insurrection in an audio statement yesterday. Also yesterday, a video showing the Russian defense minister was released, showing him for the first time since the uprising that demanded his ouster. A feud between the Wagner group leader and Russia's military brass has festered throughout the war. In case you missed it, that tension recently erupted into a mutiny that saw the mercenaries leave Ukraine to seize a military headquarters in a southern Russian city. They then rolled relatively unopposed for hundreds of miles toward Moscow. But they then turned around after less than 24 hours on Saturday. Here's why it all matters. Uncertainty is swirling about the fates of some of Moscow's biggest military power players and more, including the Russian defense minister, Wagner leader Yevgeny Prigozhin and his private army, the impact on the war in Ukraine, and even the political future of President Vladimir Putin. At a press briefing yesterday, White House National Security Council spokesman John Kirby told reporters that it was too early to speculate about the impact these events may have.
So what we're going to stay focused on is making sure that Ukraine can continue to succeed on the battlefield and not speculate about what this might or might not do on the political spectrum inside Russia. As President Biden said very well earlier, this is an internal matter for the Russian system.
In an 11-minute audio statement, Prigozhin denied trying to attack the Russian state. He said he acted in response to an attack on his forces that killed some of his fighters. The Kremlin said it had made a deal for Prigozhin to move to Belarus and receive amnesty along with his soldiers. There was no immediate confirmation of his whereabouts Monday. A popular Russian news channel on Telegram reported he was seen at a hotel in the Belarusian capital, Minsk. Russian media reported a criminal probe against Prigozhin continued despite previous statements by the Kremlin, and some lawmakers called for his head. Video the defense ministry released showed the defense minister meeting with officers at a headquarters in Ukraine, though it's unclear when the video was shot. It comes as Russian media speculated that he and other military leaders have lost Putin's confidence and could be replaced. At a news conference, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the alliance is watching the events in Russia.
The events over the weekend are an internal Russian matter, and yet another demonstration of the big strategic mistake that President Putin made with his legal annexation of Crimea and the war against Ukraine.
Though the mutiny was brief, it was not bloodless. Russian media reported that Wagner forces shot down several military helicopters and a military communications plane, killing at least 15. The defense ministry did not immediately comment. The U.S. had intelligence that Prigozhin had been building up his forces near the border with Russia for some time, suggesting the revolt was planned. That conflicts with Prigozhin's claim his rebellion was a response to a Friday attack on his field camps in Ukraine by the Russian military. The defense ministry denied that claim. Another important story, the Coast Guard said it is leading an investigation into the loss of the Titan submersible to determine what caused it to implode. The vessel was carrying 5 people to the Titanic. Chief investigator Captain Jason Neubauer said salvage operations from the seafloor are ongoing. He said they have mapped the accident site, but he did not give a timeline for the investigation. Neubauer also said the convening of a Marine Board of Investigation is the highest level of investigation conducted by the Coast Guard.
My primary goal is to prevent a similar occurrence by making the necessary recommendations to enhance the safety of the maritime domain worldwide.
Investigators are working closely with other national and international investigative authorities. Canadian authorities are helping collect evidence in the port of St. John's, Newfoundland. The Coast Guard Board can make recommendations to prosecutors to pursue civil or criminal sanctions as necessary. In case you missed it, the Coast Guard announced Thursday that debris from the submersible had been found roughly 1,600 feet from the Titanic in North Atlantic waters. The Titan submersible reportedly imploded on its way to tour the Titanic wreckage, killing all 5 on board. Debris was located about 12,500 feet underwater. One question that seems at least partially resolved is when the implosion likely happened. A senior U.S. Navy official said after the Titan was reported missing, the Navy went back and analyzed its acoustic data. The official said they found an anomaly Sunday that was consistent with an implosion or explosion in the general vicinity where the vessel was operating when communications were lost. The Coast Guard continued the search because that data was not considered definitive. The Coast Guard led the initial search and rescue mission. Experts said the cost of the unprecedented search for the missing Titan submersible will likely be millions of dollars. However, Rear Admiral John Mauger of the Coast Guard 1st District said the Coast Guard doesn't charge for search and rescue, nor does it associate a cost with human life. Also on the radar for today, a new poll on national security issues finds 3/4 of respondents believe it is important for Ukraine to win its war against Russia's invasion. Not all of them, however, support providing Ukraine military aid. The Ronald Reagan Presidential Foundation and Institute released its first summer poll to the public on Sunday. It found continuing support for the United States taking a leadership role in the world, opposition to cutting defense spending, and a pronounced generational divide over whether to ban the social media app TikTok. The Reagan Institute summer survey polled 1,254 people online and over the phone in late May and early June. It found that 76% of respondents felt a Ukrainian victory was important to the United States. That belief was held most strongly by Democratic respondents, 86% of whom agreed that a Ukrainian victory was important. It was held least strongly by independents, 58% of whom agreed. Among Republicans, 71% of all respondents agreed with that statement. Support was slightly softer among respondents who said they would vote for former President Trump in the primaries. A majority of poll respondents, about 59% of them, support the United States sending Ukraine military aid. About 30% oppose it. Here's why it matters. The Reagan Institute's policy director said in a call with reporters that these findings represent a slight increase in support from the Institute's last poll. That survey, conducted in November 2022, found that 57% of respondents supported providing Ukraine with military equipment and financial assistance. 33% said the U.S. should instead focus on its problems at home. And now, here are some other stories that we're hearing chirps about. The Supreme Court yesterday agreed to take up an ongoing veterans education benefits case, which could dramatically rewrite federal benefits rules and give additional tuition money to potentially millions of veterans. The Senate Armed Services Committee passed the chamber's fiscal 2024 defense policy bill Friday, which looks to restore the Army's physical fitness test as the test of record. Although the bill has a long road ahead before it becomes law, the move signals powerful lawmakers' frustration with the Army combat fitness test. Stars and Stripes is reporting that U.S. and German officials said an American soldier was in stable condition yesterday after being shot the day before by security guards following an incident in Germany. North Korean state media said tens of thousands of North Koreans marched in anti-U.S. rallies over the weekend as the country marked the anniversary of the start of the Korean War. And an American aircraft carrier, the Ronald Reagan, made a port call in Vietnam on Sunday, a rare visit by one of the Navy's biggest ships. It comes as Washington and Beijing both step up efforts to bolster ties with Southeast Asian nations.
On Sunday, June 25th, Communist forces attacked the Republic of Korea. This attack has made it clear beyond all doubt that the international communist movement is willing to use armed invasion to conquer independent nations. An act of aggression such as this, it creates a very real danger to the security of all free nations.
And on this day in history, in 1950, 2 days after the North Korean People's Army invaded South Korea by crossing the border at the 38th parallel, President Harry S. Truman ordered air and naval forces to help the South Koreans repel the invaders. That's it for us this morning. To get more of the top stories and breaking news, go to defensenews.com/EBB to subscribe to the Early Bird Brief newsletter. If you liked what you heard, give us a like wherever you get your podcasts, and be sure to follow us on social media at @defense_news and @military times. Also, please rate us and be sure to leave a comment. The Early Bird Brief is hosted by me, Jonathan Lehrfeld, and produced by Simone Z. Perez. Today's episode features stories by the Associated Press and Stephen Losey. Our editor-in-chief is Mike Roos. Have a great day.